Good morning everybody. How are you all today? I hope you're well. I certainly hope you've got more energy than me today. I don't know if it's the weather or what, but my goodness, it all feels like a bit of an effort at the moment. And our August weather is being such a pickle. The temperatures definitely cooled down since the end of July. We've had a couple of days where it's been, I think yesterday it was about 18 degrees, so it's like half of what it was 2 weeks ago. Bonkers. Loads of rain, such heavy rain as well, even more since the last time I saw you. Since then we've had even more rain. Yeah, and today it's quite overcast. Every now and again the sun comes out and it's really quite strong and warm, but it's overcast and it's humid. I was just getting debris out of my hair a second ago. Let me put it back up. Yeah, so I'd seen the forecast for today and I thought, oh, cooler, brilliant, perfect for the job I want to do, because it's going to be a bit humping and lumping, going to tackle the compost bins today. But you know what, it's quite muggy. I think it's going to be a sweaty day. Let's go and get sweaty together. There are some really strong gusts happening as well. That's lovely. It's very refreshing for me being out there. I've already been out there this morning and I'll come to that in a second. Yeah, it's refreshing for me, but it is going to properly muck up the sound today. So I might have to just do a mime show. Oh no, I'm not going to do it. I was going to try and do charades of compost. I haven't got the energy. I don't know if it is the weather. I know a few friends and folk on YouTube and Facebook have been saying the same, that they're feeling a bit flat at the moment. They're feeling a bit unmotivated, and yeah, maybe it is that. And I didn't kind of want to say the A word. I'm not saying the B word, for definite I'm not saying the B word. I didn't want to say the A word today either, but I think I'm going to. It definitely feels autumnal today. Partly because it's cooled down, this wind, but also I've noticed that literally in the last week or so, so much of my foliage is just beginning to die back. I'm not ready to let go of summer yet. I'm sure I said that the other day, but I'm seriously not ready to let go yet. I've been down for an hour or so this morning anyway, doing all sorts of odd jobs, including tidying the shed up a bit, because I've got so much going on in the shed now, and I'm going to have more going on. Obviously I've got all the onions drying. I've also got all the bags, you can't see them, but all the bags of lentils. They're hanging from the rack, they're hanging above the door, they're hanging over there above the cooker, hanging everywhere. But obviously over the next few weeks, more and more harvests are going to be happening, a lot of which I'll want to dry, and a lot of which I'll want to dry in the shed. So for example, I'm going to want to hang lavender to dry, beans for drying. What I normally do with them is, once the onions are done, I put hessian sacks on the drying rack so they don't drop through, and then just spread beans out on the top, because I will also dry things at home, but I run out of space at home, so I have to make the most of the shed space. So yes, it's a bit more organised. I'm glad about that. I've got a pile of pots and trays and things to take home to wash. Good. Feeling like, you know, on it, know what my jobs are. But as part of that this morning, walking around the garden, like I say, I'm noticing there's tons of foliage dying back. Where, excuse me, where I've had, obviously I've got that big bed of chard and I've had masses from it already, absolutely masses. But some of the leaves that I haven't got to in time, they're going over as well. That's actually fine, because today with the compost heap, which we'll come to in a second, any bits that I chop out, you know, I want to kind of remove all the rubbishy bits from the garden. they can go in the compost. So I'm going to be making lots of green, but I've got some brown, so I can add them all together. That's good. And also next door, but one to the chard, my Reuben's red lettuce have pretty much come to an end. So I think we'll have those out today too, and I've just about got time to re-sow that bed. So I've just been going through my my little seed tin again and hoiking out some various, I've got some spinach, some corn salad, a bit of leftover little jam. Basically it's all the little bits and bobs of the salad leaf type things, the seeds that were left over from those sowings I did in May and June. So I think it's time to roll up our sleeves. I'm already filthy dirty. I've worn a dark top on purpose today because I knew that I was going to be doing quite mucky work. The first job of today, with you anyway, there have been lots of jobs already. The first job with all of you is to go and tackle my compost bin. Actually, I'll just tell you in here before we go outside, because I think it is really going to be quite noisy and gusty. Since about, I think it was about March, I started filling the compost bin up again, and I was being very methodical. Cardboard, bit of green stuff, cardboard, green stuff, cardboard, chopping it in, mixing it up. But then in the last few weeks there's been masses of green stuff and I've just been chucking it in the top. So I'm going to take the whole bin apart today because I want what's in the bottom, and then when I put it back together with all of this green material, I've got a load of cardboard to add to it. So come on, let's go and get stuck into the compost. Wondering slightly how best to do this. I think it's going to be easiest. I'm just going to hoik the whole bin off if I can. Oh, can I? There is a little door thing at the bottom down there, but I've never found it particularly easy to use. Ah, that's it. Come on, shaky, shaky, shaky. Oh, it's quite dry. Gosh. Really dry. Oh, awkward. There's never enough space, is there? Wow, on first glance it looks really dry. And considering I put a bucket of wee in this on pretty much most of my visits. Right, well let me give you a closer look so you can see what I'm dealing with. Yeah, so around the outside it does look really, really quite dry. And considering how much green stuff has been put in there and how many, like I say, buckets of wee have been put in there, what I'm wondering now is, because the bin, this jaunty angle there, because the bin is black, that's obviously going to soak up the heat of the sun. I'm wondering if that's what's caused it to be so dry. Hopefully in the middle, and especially towards the bottom, I might get something useful out. So I've lined up a couple of wheelbarrows, my own and a borrowed one. I think the best thing to do now is just get stuck in and see if I can find something decent in the bottom of there. I'm quite cramped for space to show you what I'm doing as well. Right. Recent stuff. Oh, okay. It does. I wonder if that's going to show. That's definitely more moist in the middle. Okay, so that's a lesson for next year, for the summer, is to just try and get in here more often and turn it more often, because all this stuff at the sides that was all green when it went in, it's just dried, basically cooked, baked. Never mind, let's get all the side stuff off. What I'm hoping to get to is some slightly actually composted material that I can use as mulch. That's the whole kind of, well, it was the whole point of getting into this compost bin today. But, well, I'm glad I have, because, yeah, that's a pretty rubbish compost pile. Absolute rubbish. It's, oh gosh, that's disappointing. Because obviously as we're adding material all the time, you know, I fill the bin up all the time, then I come back a few days later and it's sunk down, and you think, oh great, it's composting. I don't know if there's anything in here worth using. What a disappointment. Oh, Vivi. Give you a clearer shot. Well, this, maybe. Do you know what? I am going to get that other barrow. A little tiny bit will be better than absolutely nothing. And then hopefully... Oh, it's rubbish. Is it worth it at all? Oh, I just don't know. Let's see. So this is going right back to March in the bottom here. I mean, you can see it's wanting to. It's wanting to break down. Yeah, maybe I can just get a little tiny bit of this out, because I want to put it around the purple sprouting broccoli, just to protect that all that bare soil this winter. Oh, I'm in a dilemma. Right, let me have a think about this for a minute and see if there's anything I can rescue from this. I've managed to get a small amount, such a small amount, and it's really hardly composted at all, but, well, most of it's damp, it's on the way there, so I'm just going to start putting this other material back, give it a bit of a mix as I go, and a bit of a wetting. Oh, never mind. Hopefully there'll be some good stuff for next year. Chuck in some of this nasturtium. Actually, over the next couple of weeks there should be quite a lot of green material to come out. So I'll add, and I'll just, you know, I just have to make sure I keep stirring it, keep moving it, and keep wetting it. That's a bit big. Yeah, just make sure it's moist. I can only put this down to the fact that it has been such a blazing hot summer. I would normally have expected not a sort of potting shed compost, nothing like that by this stage, but at least something halfway there to stick on my beds as a mulch. Ah, caramba. Yeah, it's become bone dry, it's shocking. Well, it's not shocking really, is it? You think most of July we hardly had a drop of rain. Temperature's up to 40, and if it's up to 40 degrees just outside, imagine how hot the black plastic got. I'm thinking for the future, if we have times like that again, where it's so baking hot, is to keep an eye on the forecast. Whew. Sun's coming out now, talking of the sun. Black clouds though. Yeah, if it's like this again, if I see the forecast and I see that we've got some rain due, is to maybe just, for that rainy day, pop the lid off. So if we have been really hot and dry and it's all baking in here, at least every now and again, get some water in there, keep it moist. Or if there's not going to be any rain, it's just to remember to, go on girl, stir it. Yeah, it's just to remember to just maybe have it as a once a week job, water the compost heap. But like I say, I'm surprised though, because I do put a load of urine in it each week, and I would have thought that would be enough to wet it down. Obviously not. Anyway, never mind. I've got a little bit. I've got what I can. I've learned a lesson. That's the main thing, isn't it? When things don't go quite according to plan, let's see if we can take a lesson from it, so that next year we can apply our mistake learnings to the following year. Come on, let's go and see to that bed. I've come to the purple sprouting broccoli bed. Here we are, this is where my new potatoes were. But just before I get stuck into mulching, I just wanted to show you the path as a contrast. So this side of the path, this was all bed that was, you know, quite well dug for me to get my spuds in. If you compare that with this, where the nets have been, I hope that gives you a good demonstration of just how this soil compacts with rain. And this path, I trod it down very gently, not very much, but you can see it's turned to concrete again, almost. Now you imagine this with baking sun on it now, it will be absolutely rock hard. And that's why I'm always so sort of a bit on one about keeping my beds covered, whether it's with nets, mulch, plants, you know, obviously these big foliage of all the spuds, that's protecting the soil, because if we look in here, you can see that the soil has not been smacked down anywhere near as much as that little bit of path. And like I say, this is new path. This wasn't path all summer. I wasn't walking on this at all in the summer. This was where the spuds were. Goodness me. Right, let's get on with this shoddy bit of a mulch. Oh, it really isn't fabulous, but here goes. Teeming with life in there. So it's not just, for me, obviously it's not just about covering the soil against the pelting rain. My reason for mulching, obviously it's partly to do with moisture retention. There's plenty of moisture in there at the moment, but also it's continually thinking about how to help my soil, how to improve it, how to stop it becoming compact and horrid, how to give the worms something to enjoy. I want worm activity in there. But in the sort of the 4 or 5 years that I've really tried hard with these beds, the worm activity has increased massively. You know, when I first got any of these beds going, I just didn't have worms at all. 0 worms. And now, well, pretty much every time I put my trowel in or my fork in, I'm having to apologise to a worm along the way. So it's not terribly broken down, like I was saying, but it will It'll work as a mulch. Oh, got it in my hair. It'll work as a mulch. It'll feed the soil. It's going to help. There was nowhere near as much to use as I hoped there would be, but there's enough at least for these 2 rows. There's another row there. Oh, I might just get the first of that other row done, but like I always say, a little bit is better than nothing at all, and if I just keep doing this whenever I can, always just keep a lookout for whatever material I can use, then yeah, it's all going to do the garden a world of good. Right, let's get that tunnel back on before the butterflies discover it's off, and start on the next row. I'm just looking, it's absolutely teeming with life. All sorts of centipedes, millipedes. I'm not very good on insects, I'm afraid. Tons of wood lice, tons of them. Yeah, it's alive. It's alive, oh, yay! I've had some great harvests from the Reuben's Red all through the summer, but as you can see, they're starting to bolt. Oh, that one, yeah, definitely bolting. So it's time for them to come out. I'm just going to get that out of the way as well. And what's great, as we've just seen from the compost, how completely bone dry all that compost is. Great. This will give me a nice bit of green to mix in with it all. Green and wet. But I will chop it down a bit. All of the salad type leaves that I grow throughout the summer and just into autumn, I grow all of them as a cut and come again veg. In other words, as they're growing, I'll keep harvesting just from each plant, 2 or 3 leaves from the outside of the plant. The middle of the plant is always kind of producing and putting out more. It's great. It's I find it, doing it that way, it's really space saving. So I don't have to have a sort of, a row with quite big spaces between to just have, say, 10 single lettuces, which you harvest the whole one of and then it's gone. From this really quite small area, what is it? Maybe a metre square, not even that. Maybe about 80 centimetres square. I've been eating leaves from this since, oh gosh, probably the middle of June. I think it's about the middle of June. These were my first ones to come up. So it's been brilliant. And likewise, for instance, with the way I do my celery, exactly the same principle. If you've only got a small space, grow something that you can use as a cut and come again. So you're never harvesting the whole plant. So even in that teeny tiny space, even if you've only got, say, 10 plants, they could, in theory, last you the entire summer. 2, 3, maybe even 4 months. Just keep taking 1 or 2 leaves from each plant each time. Don't strip the plant too much. Don't be greedy. Don't be like me. Yeah, so it's a great idea, like I say, if you've got a really small garden, or if, like me, you've got a decent sized garden, but you're greedy to grow lots of other things too. So I'll get these out, chopped, give this bed a bit of a rake, and we'll plant some more. Just before I do anything with this bed, give it a rake over, re-sow it, I just want to show you now all the lettuce is cleared. The reason I want to show it to you is because I have not weeded this bed all summer. There's a little bit of grass, that's a bit of bindweed, so I'm going to fork that out, and there's a weed there. But that's amazing when you think how warm and wet we've been. The weeds ought to have loved it. This is all just debris from the lettuces. no weeds. Sorry, I shook you around really badly then. No weeds. So the other thing about having a tiny space like this, of using them as a cut and come again, I'm just not letting any bare soil develop. And because I sowed them so closely together in the first place, they've worked as their own mulch, their own weed suppressant. They've given me leaf after leaf after leaf all summer. I'm just standing back a bit so you can get an idea of the size of the space. And like I say, that's barely a square metre. Fab. Right, so let's get raking and sowing. That's pretty much all it's going to need. I'm purely doing this just to loosen it a little bit so I can make some drills for my next sowing. Oh, that's a little bit compact in the centre, but that's really the only bit. Great. New drills, new seeds, new feeds. Yum yum. Well, there's no question that the soil is moist enough after lashings and lashings of rain, but also it's still warm enough for getting a few more bits in now, especially with quick things like these sort of spinach and salad leafy type things. And although we've had a few really quite grotty weather days in terms of wind, lashing rain, what have you, it is still warm. We need to kind of remind ourselves it is still only August, and oops, dropping my seeds. Well, I'm going to have some strays. Yeah, it's only August, so you know, we should be sort of frost free, gosh, for at least another what, 4, 5, 6, maybe even 8 weeks or so, which is plenty of time for this little lot to come up and for me to enjoy eating them. Just snodge them in. There we go. Great. That's spinach, and I think I'm going to just put a little bit of lettuce in these last 2 little drills. Good stuff. And right on cue, the sun is coming out. How beautiful with the sun shining through. Oh, so many beautiful colours still. The wind is picking up again. Weird weather at the moment. But it's been lovely to be out there all morning. Those little moments when the sun came out, oh, gorgeous. And at the beginning of the day, and I was saying, oh, just feeling a bit about things, or about doing the garden. Just feel already so much better for being here. I'm going to carry on now and do lots of really boring things. As I've been out and about in the garden this morning, I'm spotting little bits and bobs to do. Nothing urgent, but it's such a sort of fresh, blowy day. It's the kind of day I like to be outside, so I'm going to carry on. There's a bit of weeding to do. Actually, I have to say, the weeds have really not been an issue this year. I've hardly done any weeding. I think that's partly because we were so hot and dry. They didn't really want to grow. But annoyingly, what I am seeing popping up here and there, it's grass. It's so annoying because that's grass seed that's blowing in from other plots. And it's one of those things that just drives me a little bit insane because my immediate neighbours are fabulous, absolutely fantastic. They work really hard on their plots. I mean, you quite often see a little bit of their plot in my pictures, and you can see it's a really beautiful, productive plot too. And I've shown you a bit of Catherine's, and hers is really productive too. What I don't understand is these people who put themselves on a waiting list, they wait years and years to get their allotment, they get their allotment and then they don't do it. Just don't do it. We we're having a real issue with that at the moment, so much so that a general letter has gone out to everybody to say, cut your grass. Because there are plots where the grass is it's 2 feet high and it's seeding. And it's just so selfish to let a plot get that in that state. Now listen, I'm not having a go at anyone who's going through some major life thing, whether it's an illness or bereavement or what have you. Of course, we are, you know, we're understanding of those situations. And actually, when it's that sort of situation, a lot of us pitch in to help that plot holder to sort of keep their plot going whilst, you know, if they're going to have an absence of any length of time. But these are plots which belong to people who are not ill. They're not going through bereavement, divorce, any of those major life things. They're just too darn lazy to get here. And it kind of breaks my heart, because there are people on that waiting list, and I know there'll be someone on that waiting list who is just like I was when I got offered my plot, who'll say, yes, finally, thank you. And they'll make so much of it, they'll make the most of it. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing when we've got plot holders. You know, some of them have been here a year and a half now. They've just done nothing. They've done nothing. And the contrast to that is, do you remember a video? It's right back at the beginning of July when I had my birthday drinks down here. Oh my goodness, that was a jolly session. And Richard and Paul were here, and then later on Kay had come over and Graham and the dog came down, and then there were 2 newbies, M&M. Well, they've had their plot, I think it's about 6 weeks now, coming up for their 7th week. I'd love to show it to you. I'll ask them if I can show it to you, because it just shows what a little bit of work and commitment can do. They've got, I think they've got about 6 beds open and in production. They've been clearing and clearing. It was 3-4 feet high with grass and brambles and raspberries everywhere. I mean, the whole plot had been taken over by raspberries. They've done an amazing job, and they've made the most gorgeous plot number sign. Yeah, I'll have a word with them and see if they'll let me show you their plot, because it's a testament to what can be achieved in just a few weeks if you're not lazy and if you've got that commitment. And you know, they both work. It's not like they're retired. They're a young couple. They work, you know, they work. So they pop down in the evenings to water when that's needed, and otherwise they come at the weekends and they get stuck in, and they also get stuck into the community stuff too, which is great. So yes, bit of a digression. I can't speak. A bit of a digression there. It's just me reminding myself of what I'm going to do now for the rest of the afternoon is to go around my plot and pull out all the seeded grass that's come from someone else's plot. So it'll be quite a nice, slow, meditative job as the wind blusters around me and blows away all the cobwebs. Yay! So for now, I'm going to say cheerio to all of you. I hope wherever you're at in your gardens, I hope you're happy. I hope I think I've kind of caught up with most people by now, but I hope you all got through that big stormy stuff without too much damage. Oh, and thank you for all your suggestions about how to clear up my cold frame mess. Haven't done anything about it yet. It's not a priority. It'll become a priority once we go into the winter, and I can start to think about all my maintenance and repairs and all those lovely jobs we get on with in the winter. But let's not think about the winter just yet. It's still summer. So I will see you all again really soon. But in the meantime, enjoy yourselves out there. Make the most of summer while we still have it. And please take care of yourselves. Cheerio!